want to welcome you back to The Potty Line. I'm your girl, ZZJ.
And I'm Black Beach Barbie.
I know! This is so amazing. It has been a while, you guys, but we are finally back here, Season 3, with your girl Z, and we decided, actually Lala and I decided, that the best person to fill in for Lala would be Black Beach Barbie.
Here I am. Thank you.
Welcome.
It's an honor to take that torch from Lala and carry it on into Season 3, so I'm excited to be here.
Yes.
And, let's get it started.
Okay. All right, listeners, but don't worry. You will be hearing Lala in future episodes, so just be ready for that, okay? But today, all the attention is on our guest speaker. Her name is Damarie Rose Eden McCullough. Dream. That is her name. And she is going to, you know what, girl? You come out and you say, what's up? Go ahead.
What's up?
Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so yes, indeed. I mean, you've known me for a very long time, both of you guys. And I did go for quite some time as myself, my named self, Damarie Rose Eden Alexandria McCullough.
Oh, I forgot the Alexandria.
However, as of recent, I won't call it a renouncing, but I did officially change my name.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is Damarie Rose Eden Al Ma'at Bay.
Ma'at Bay.
Ma'at, like M-A-A-T.
Why the change?
Well, to be honest, it comes with sort of part of the reason why we're even doing this today. I've had somewhat of a spiritual experience in my life, and it's led me into an entire realm of knowledge that I didn't know existed. And to be honest, it's kind of like a Damarie 2.0 kind of thing.
Okay.
It's like recycled energy, blam bam, looking way fresher.
Yeah,
like
poppin'.
Right? So it's not
Okay.
like I'm not who I used to be, but I'm a more improved version.
Polish.
Right.
Yes, I love that. And we all go through that in life. That's what growth is all about. That's what this podcast is all about, right?
Yeah.
Finding the better version of yourself.
Yeah. So
without further ado, today, ladies and gentlemen, whoever is listening, we're going to be talking about what is your therapy. So therapy in the sense that what keeps you sane, what keeps you balanced, what keeps you centered, frees your mind of any negativity. What is your form of therapy? So I thought it wouldn't be better to get someone like Damarie here today because she's an actual tarot card reader. And she has found her spirituality in that sense. But I want to know what was your journey getting to be where you're at right now?
Yeah.
Can we have a drum roll?
Was that like the beginning of your therapy? Like what was the beginning of that led you to this?
Okay, so the very beginning, I will say, the beginning of my life, most certainly, was a perfect precursor. Well, I mean, you guys know, but your listeners might not know. I was a national gymnast for, 15 years, somewhere around there. And being in that realm very much gave me a false sense of who I was. And I created who I was based on that. And then, all of a sudden, when I got into sort of my teenage years, I got introduced to all the bad kid stuff.
Yeah.
And it was completely opposite from what I had learned up until that point.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was on that plane.
You stopped talking to me for like 2 years. Because I was badass. I know.
I mean, sometimes distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Everyone has a few bad action years.
Right?
In hindsight, I had to go through a lot of those things. I did a lot of things before my time. I had experiences where people would never think in 1,000 years that I would have been. I mean, you might think because you know me, but I was in places I should never have been. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Correct.
And that led me into realizing sort of like the realness of the world and recognizing that the rose-colored glasses that I had been given it wasn't the same picture that everyone else was seeing.
Yeah.
in life. And so that led me to kind of believe that things weren't always, things weren't balanced. Yeah. I dated somebody that was like totally bad news bears.
Yeah.
All the bad things. And then I had this like, stable family home, or at least it looked like that from the outside. Good family values, all of these great things. And then on that flip side, it was like this dangerous, I was
polar
sort of like
opposites.
Total
completely.
polar opposites.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, but I found good people.
Yes.
In those settings. So what I realized was that people were doing different things and having different experiences, but it didn't take away from my love of those people. It didn't take away from the types of people they were, the things that they did for others. Do you know what I mean? I recognized the humility and humanity in both of the settings that I was witness to in life. And that's kind of what I can say kind of started it, that perspective, realizing like there's a bit of like there's an imbalance. There's duality here.
Yeah.
And
so
then,
what did you have to like turn towards to even like give you that first inkling of like, okay, I'm off kilter right now and I need to bring it back to my center?
3 letters, S-E-X.
Oh.
100%. So I lost my virginity at a very young age. Far too young. That's my opinion now.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, I'm a big woman. I can do whatever I want. I had no business. No business at all. But yeah, I lost my virginity really young. And I recognized that my sexual power was very great. And that men's reactions to me, especially those who I was with romantically in whatever capacity.
Yeah.
Right? There's different levels, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They all reacted to me very differently when I used my sexual energy versus using my intellect or using, other things that we had in common. And I recognized how powerful it was. But I didn't realize that it was, at the same time I had this view of sex that it was bad.
As we all do. As we all do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I had this power, but it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the experience of having that energy kind of grow, and I guess it was a bit of an amalgamation to a degree. Like I graduated from having this view of myself being this sexual being at a very young age, and to being this sexual being at an older age, same energy, but a totally different perspective of self.
Yes.
Yeah, different mindset, different understanding. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. You appreciate it a lot more, and you actually can look back and understand, okay, what you thought was happening in one situation, you're just like, shit, that actually wasn't what it was. It was
exactly
different.
Yeah. Totally different.
Yeah, when you look back on different sexual experiences, you're just like, damn.
Right?
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, whoa. If I knew what I know now.
She just went back there. We just saw it in her face.
You guys saw my face right now.
I don't know who that was, but shoot.
Let the past be
Memory
past.
is gonna live like people do.
You will remember me, motherfucker. No names.
No names.
Carry on.
Oh my god. But yes, it was an interesting experience sexually, and that's really, I didn't come around into understanding that until actually very recently.
Wow.
The last year of my life allowed for me to kind of put the icing on the cake where that was concerned, meaning I figured out the balance between my sexual energy and using it, and having my sexual energy and not using it, and when it was appropriate, when it wasn't appropriate, why it was appropriate, why it isn't appropriate. There's a lot of balancing that a lot of people don't necessarily take into account. Sexual energy could be putting on a red lipstick.
Yeah.
Sexual energy is just how you hold yourself. So
It's not always the act of it. It's just carrying it.
Exactly.
Because it's weird because, like, I would say I'm in a place now, like you, where I've started to embrace that as a woman because it is told that it's not ladylike to be so sexualized, you know? And I may carry, which a lot of people do tell me, is like, you have this very high sexual energy about you. And I was like, but I'm not doing anything. I'm just walking. I'm just talking. I'm just being me. Like, I'm not asking for shit. So don't come for me. Like no, but you carry it. And me being so aloof and unaware of that and how I do that was like, oh, as a woman, I get it now.
So now I was the opposite. I knew I had it. I knew I had it. Every time I walk into a room, 9.5 people look at me.
Yeah.
They can't even help themselves.
Yeah.
They might not be interested. They might not even be attracted, but they look.
Yeah.
Right? And I recognized that very early. But what I thought it was like, I mean, maybe I was a little conceited. Like, oh, it was like
I'm
a
fire,
false sense
I'm
of like,
fire.
it gave me a sense of power. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I also recognized that they kind of saw me as a vixen. Like, I was,
Wow.
you know what I mean?
For me, I was
it's
intimidated by it. I was afraid of it.
Yeah.
So if people would look at me, I would even tell them, why is everyone staring at me?
Yeah.
I was that bitch.
I would be offended if they didn't. I felt insecure if they didn't look. Yeah.
So then,
See, and I was the opposite. I know that they would look, but I would feel awkward. It's just like, oh my god, what?
Oh my god.
but there's an awkwardness and an awareness of like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm cute. I'm more like flicked it off, like, I don't want you to look at me. You're nasty.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, I don't
your
even know
mind
what
have
you're
to go,
thinking.
right?
But who knows if their mind wasn't even there? They could have just been embracing the visual of what it was,
Exactly.
right? But I always took it to a negative place.
Yeah.
That someone's looking at me in a negative, nasty way.
That's
Right?
interesting.
Isn't
Yeah.
For me, I thought that as a woman, I was supposed to draw that attention. Like,
Right.
that's the only way they're going to look at me.
Yeah.
Is if I'm this highly sexual being.
Yeah.
Like,
So how did that, like, tap into it being your therapy? Like, how is that a therapeutic thing for you?
right. So, I mean, I'm totally a conspiracy theorist.
Okay,
Hands
go
down.
for it, girl.
We're gonna go down the rabbit hole.
Speak on it, get ready.
Girl, you have no idea.
Put
I
your
hang
suit on.
out with, what is it? The Hatter? What's his name?
The Mad Hatter?
The Mad Hatter. Nasty. Like, yeah. We sit at the tea table all the time. No, but it started off as I've had a lot of different sexual experiences and relationships with people, and I realized that every time I would have a relationship with someone, especially a sexual relationship, I would end up being... I went through this huge insecurities.
Yeah.
Because if the sexual energy between us shifted in some way, I thought I had to turn it up. Like, it was like, you know that freak in the street?
Yeah,
What was
yeah.
it?
The lady in the street, freak in the sheet.
Yeah.
I was trying to be that.
Yeah, as we
Like,
all are,
yeah.
trying to be
Yeah,
that.
Exactly.
We
And
were taught that, but go on.
we were taught that,
Yeah.
exactly. It's in, like, every single 90s R&B song.
Everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I thought that I was doing the right thing, and what I realized after, well, really at the end, moving through all these relationships is that what was really occurring was these people were I was allowing these people to siphon my energy and kind of use my sexual energy and then slingshot themselves into whatever success
Something else, yeah.
they were going to be.
Wow.
Every single person that I have had a sexual relationship comes through my life and then leaves and is incredibly successful afterward in whatever it is that they're endeavoring to do. So I kind of felt like I was being robbed.
Yeah.
Like, if I have all this power, and I mean, they clearly flock to me. It's not as if I'm not attractive. It's not as if there isn't something that's attracting them to me, but they get here, and then they don't, whatever happens, usually it has to do with people not being comfortable with the power that I have. That's what I've realized now. Men kind of, they think they're attracted to it, and then they're like,
It's too much.
Yeah.
you have way too much of an opinion.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then they either try to hold me down or they go off in their own direction. But I just realized that every single time, it turned out that they would somehow grow as a person, as an individual. And then I would be left with all this pain in the end.
Right.
And missing them and, doing the whole breakup thing, blah, blah, blah. And I started realizing that I wanted to keep my power. I wanted to slingshot off of myself. When I realized that's what was happening, energetically speaking.
Okay.
I realized that there was something I needed to do in order to control that, in order to stop that from happening, in order to stop my heart from being broken. Rather than,
So what is the thing that you decided to do?
Well, I didn't really decide anything. It was more of an awareness,
Yeah.
and then life happened.
Okay.
So,
I need to know, like, Because if someone wants to replicate this form of therapy, like I feel like I'm trying to understand, like, what did you physically do for yourself?
Yeah, to harness sexual energy.
To harness that sexual energy, and like, how did you soothe yourself? Like, how did you get back to a balance and even an awareness of like, oh, I have this power. I'm going to hone this power. I'm going to work on amplifying this power, and that therapy in that.
The therapy came through writing, actually. So I found myself, after I had my son in 2012, in 2013, I decided to hire a life coach. And working with that coach, shout out to Carmen.
Hey, Carmen.
She's amazing. Carmen Tekwe. I don't know if she still coaches, but I don't look her up because she's great. She's a professor and an amazing human being. Anyway, working with Carmen, she gave me a lot of really great ways of talking to myself. So changing and switching the conversation I was having with myself, so it wasn't like me against me. It was me and me collaborating to try to figure stuff out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I started writing every single morning. I called them morning papers. And every morning I had to write 3 full pages of writing, regardless of what came out. It was like a dumping ground kind of thing. And I mean, it was like, if I felt like writing, if I felt like I didn't want to write, and I only had I don't want to write, I wrote I don't want to write for 3 pages.
Oh, wow.
Like, it was like I had to fill the 3 pages every single day without fail. And eventually, after about 6 or 7 months of doing that, I started to get myself into this sort of like writing frenzy, I would say. My energy shifted, and I started asking questions and receiving the answer while I was writing the question. So what it did, honestly, was it opened up a clear, direct channel to whatever you want to call it, infinite wisdom, God, my higher self, whatever higher aspects of me that I wasn't aware of. It completely opened up that channel, and I was able to get perspective from a place that was me, so it felt very, it was comfortable, and I trusted it, but it was also stuff that, you know, no one could provide me the answers with. So what Carmen really did for me was she taught me how to coach myself. And that's where the shift was. Teaching myself to coach myself internally. So changing the conversation internally. Now, the subjects seem very separate because at the time, I was not having these sexual, you know, I wasn't even realizing that that was part of it. It was still sort of, you know, I was oblivious to all of that.
Still foreign,
Right. But I realize now that had I not gone through that, you know, process of getting to know myself and being able to soothe myself through writing and having this space where I could ask questions and actually receive answers, I wouldn't have been able to attract the sexual experiences that came into my life that actually led me to this epiphany, so to speak. So it was, life has really happened. Really, I can blame it on life. And then these little things that I did on the side. So like,
well, what do you think like it was about life? Because I feel like a lot of us live life very unconsciously. Like, we go through motions, we meet people along the way, and, oh yeah, I met this guy the other day, like, oh, did you get anything from that person? And you know what I mean? Like, it just kind of like in one ear, out the next, where we've had moments in life where we met people and it was like this crazy interaction, sparks, and it was like, I'll never forget that person, and that person led me into wanting to go work out, or wanting to do more meditation, or wanting to sexually explore, right? It's just like, what were those, like, stepping stones? Like, did you have to go through meditation? Like, is that something that you turned towards that kind of helped you become more aware
definitely.
of your present life and moving forward?
Writing was a huge thing. Writing, honestly, that was the thing that really got the practical, the conversation, you know, the actual thoughts on paper so that I could look at things. But besides that, to be honest, there was someone that you introduced me to years ago in Kensington Market, a friend of yours that read my palm.
Oh, Sina.
Oh.
And he read my palm and let me know a lot of things that I was doing at the time.
I remember that. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
were not really my life. It was like he sort of read this, like, he told me that who I was wasn't really who I was, and that I would rediscover who I was, and that kind of intrigued me. So I started to look more.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm not who I am, then who the hell am I? Okay. Weird.
Help me find her.
Then weird here, like, I don't know.
If I'm not me, where is she
Yeah.
at?
Where's she at? Yeah. Can she call? Does she have a phone? You know? Does she need rescue? Yeah. So that kind of intrigued me. That was a huge, huge moment in my life that I realized that there was something more for me. She also mentioned that there was someone that I would meet, and when I met this person, everything would change, which is precisely what occurred in the last 2 years of my life. And I mean, he gave me the name of the person, or the letter of the name of the person. The person has, not only does he have that first letter, like that name, he changed his name, and it's still the same letter.
Oh, wow.
So it was like double blammy. It was like, like, you know, and they're like, oh shoot,
That's
boy, he really did have the power in that.
That
you know?
is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the first thing, and then the second thing would just be, I mean, like I said, I'm a conspiracy theorist to the bone. I read, I go on the dark web.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't watch mainstream media. I watch stuff that's very underground. So I kind of just have been exposed to a lot of outside of the box subjects and ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for instance, I wouldn't call myself a tarot reader. I'm more of an intuitive reader.
Okay.
So the cards I use to elicit whatever emotion within myself that I feel, and then I interpret that emotion, and I allow myself to just say words. I don't think, they just come out.
Yeah.
But that intuitive sort of beingness it came from the writing, definitely, and then from this profound understanding that I had more to do, that there was something more
Purpose.
that was coming, or that I would come to understand.
Yeah.
So I was always sort of searching for it, and looking for that. What is it? At first, I searched for the person. Who is this person? Like, oh, who my life's going to change? But of course, I was entirely driven by sex for the first portion of my adulthood, so it made sense. But now I realize that. What is that show? I can't think of the name of the show. However, there's a show that it depicts gods. Maybe it's American Gods?
I don't know.
Anyway, it depicts gods as if, like, they take all the gods from all the different, religions and what have you, and they put them into real time now, and they show how people worship these gods without realizing that they're worshiping these gods, like the god of money, the god of ego, the god, like, they had, I think one of the characters was, like, Easter, and her name was Esther or something.
Oh, so funny.
And, like, she was the goddess of spring, but she was also the goddess of, like, creation and abundance, and so she did all these things in life, but people saw her as a real person.
Yeah.
But when they go and they hide Easter eggs for their children, or when they, do whatever their religious ceremonies they would do, right? Even the pagans celebrate the spring equinox, things like that, right? She would receive that power. So rather than in the old days how they used to worship gods, they were being worshipped in this new way.
Okay.
Right? And so in the show they had the goddess, I don't remember her name, but she's basically the goddess of sex. Kali, or Kali, is her name in Hindu.
Yeah.
The girl with the tongue, she's always like, Okay. So Kali, the goddess, usually has this way of, like, having sex with her. I mean, they're kind of victims in the end. Because she consumes their energy. They go inside of her, and she completely consumes their body while they're having sex, and it's like the best thing that they've ever felt, and all of a sudden they're dead, and they're inside of her.
Yeah.
And she takes on their energy.
Right.
And I realized that, actually, I realized after I seen that show, that that's kind of how my sexual energy was being used. Or that's sort of who I was, to a degree. I just misunderstood it, so I was using it incorrectly, if that makes sense. So it was really just these series of events and my self-awareness due to my writing that allowed for me to... I just kind of receive stuff, and then I know them. If I have a superpower, it's literally knowing. I would call it clairsentience, I think they call it. I can sense when something is right. I might not have all the words or the knowledge to explain it, but I know if it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And and I trust it now because I've
that's like something deeper than your intuition.
Yeah, it's like the intuition leads me to stuff.
Yeah.
And then I get there and I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Or I'm like, no. Like I can just tell for some reason. Usually, like for people, for instance, I read energy, but I can tell the difference between who that person is presenting themselves to be and how they actually feel internally. And I can sense the gap. I don't know what's happening.
I get that too.
But I sense the gap, right? And so I've been trusting that, sensing the gap, and that's where, if I recognize, if I meet somebody, for instance, who has a huge gap, I just don't really hang out with that person. I go someplace else to somebody who's more in tune with who they are, kind of thing. So it was really the realization of that. I called my superpower. And then the clear conversation I was having with Source, with God, that allowed for me to kind of understand my sexuality and what I was actually doing with it all of those years. It wasn't until I had a very tantric sexual experience more recently that I realized that, holy crap, like I am the sex goddess. Like, okay. I am her. Hell yes. Power to me,
So wait, so people are following, like what we're talking about. Like, is that tantric? What is that? Is that a form of sexual meditation? Like,
it is.
Okay.
It is. So tantra is really just breath and meditation.
And is that what you do on a daily?
I do, yeah. I mean, maybe not daily. Now, there was a time during the pandemic where I was like, well, all I got to do is meditate, so keep up with this one. Right? And, but now I would say probably once or twice a week.
Okay.
I go through a tantric meditation intentionally. Sometimes it just comes on by itself, where, I'm at the grocery store, and all of a sudden I'm in full-blown orgasm.
Wow.
And it's very hard.
Wow.
Because, nobody really wants to share their orgasm with the grocery store and all that.
I have a visual. Like, I have a visual of you just walk in, trying to get some...
Because I'd be biting the bottom lip like, oh my God.
She reaches for them canned goods and drops it.
Yeah. So it's like, Tantra is really just breath and sexual energy. That's how I experienced it, mixed together. And you use your breath to bring down the sexual energy, and so it instead of blowing over the top in an orgasm, it goes like this.
So almost like controlled or resistant.
Yeah, it goes up
to a certain extent.
Right, it expands and it retracts.
Okay.
It expands and it retracts, and the process of that expansion and retracting that becomes the orgasm, so to speak. So it's like, that moment right before orgasm, that's like the best part, right? It's that. Consistently.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's coming, it's there, no, it's still there.
It's like that earthquake. It just keeps quaking before it's actually, like, cracking.
Yeah.
It's quaking. I don't see any cracks in the freaking blow, but it's quaking. It's shaking.
Like, oh, God.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
So, Tantra, but it also happened very organically, so I hadn't actually studied Tantra before.
I was just thinking, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
I was going to ask is, like, how did you get into all that?
Yeah. I had a sexual experience with the person who you introduced me to when we were, I don't know how old we were, 21, 22?
It was in our 20s.
Some back then. Mm-hmm. And he told me about this person. I finally met this person a few years ago, and it was that person who our sexual experience together was very tantric.
Wow.
Just naturally, it just happened. Yeah.
Damn.
And so from that experience, you learned how to harness your sexual energy and use that as your therapy.
Well, first what happened was I healed my heart. My heart was very broken, and not just because of the relationships that I had, romantically, but from just relationships in general, friendships, courtships, things that went far, things that didn't. My father, my mother, my brothers, all of those relationships, I always had this aspect of heartbrokenness that I experienced. And that relationship or that sexual experience I had with this person allowed for me to recognize that I was heartbroken and then to heal that brokenness. And that's when the power came in.
I think that's what happens with a lot of things. I think we search for these types of therapies to help us fill those voids that we are broken. Like everyone goes through a stage of that brokenness. Something, my alignment, something's not working. My tool, my body, something is off. I need to figure it out. My form of therapy is meditation. Maybe not all that tantric shit, but mine is definitely.
Listen, we all have Kegel muscles.
I know, but I just do the breath work.
Okay.
I just try and silence my mind. I'm a thinker. I overthink.
Yeah.
And then also to distract myself, I like to dance. That's my form of therapy. And then when I'm really tense, where my whole body is so tense, I work out. And that I know working out is definitely a mental therapy for me when it comes to mental health. It makes you feel sexier. It makes you feel healthier,
totally does.
Right?
Wow.
And it gives you clarity at times where it's just I'm having a hard time accepting something or a thought. I just need to work it out. Physically work it out. And realizing and even being able to be aware of those things that are missing within your alignment, to be it's my heart. Or it's my mind, or it's my gut. Something's off. It just doesn't feel right. What are those things for you, Sina?
Yeah, for me, definitely I always knew I'm very connected to the weather and the sunlight.
I was just going to bring up nature.
Yes.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
That is me. I just need to be outdoors. I need to be in nature. I need to go for a walk. I need a blanket, lay in the middle of the grass in direct sun. Anyone who knows me knows I'm always I want to be in the direct sunlight.
Your name is Black Beach
Barbie.
Yeah.
They don't call it that for no reason.
And that is
just give her blanket, sand, and sun.
Yeah, that is my form of therapy. If I am ever having a bad day, I will get a blanket. I will go in the middle of the field. I will sit outside by myself and just lay there with my eyes closed. And that is my form of meditation when I think about it. It's I'm not intentionally meditating, but I'm literally going out there to clear my mind, to just, smell the nature, hear the birds, enjoy the sun, feel the wind. That is my thing. Yeah.
But they do talk about that on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
Us as humans, to regain that balance is to reconnect with the earth.
Okay, so I took my dog for a walk a couple days ago, and I realized that the forest that we walked through was a little less treeful than it was last year, and I cried.
Oh no.
I'm so sorry.
What are we doing to you?
Oh, God. Look at all the loves. But it's true. That's right.
It does give you something like plants. We even have a plant in our home that... We've never seen this plant, okay, do what it's doing. But now that we've been stuck indoors at home, it's the plant got happy and started sprouting. And we didn't even know that it blossomed. It looked you guys, it looks like a bamboo tree.
It looks like a palm tree.
It looks like a palm tree, bamboo tree that should not have flowers. It started having flowers. It started having sap. It was so fragrancy, filled up our whole the smell, you could smell it as soon as you walked in. So then we were just this is kind of weird. Let's read up on it.
Yeah.
So it said, trees like this only blossom every 4 years, but only in the presence of...
when they're happy and healthy.
When they're happy and healthy.
And I'm my plants love me. They've all just bloomed so much this whole year that I've been home.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm just oh my God,
so I mean,
love me.
When you see people talking to their plants, it's no joke. The plants are as living as we are too. That's a therapy right there for them.
That spiritual aspect, that's what it is. That's what I've learned is spirituality is nature.
Yeah.
and nature is spirituality.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, you sit outside, you sit in the sun. Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's water.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I sit, and literally water, like I said, my experience is very sexual. Water makes love to me.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it moves, how it comes in and out,
Same
that whole
here. I'm
process.
very connected to water as well.
Right.
That is true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I take like hour-long showers.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
When our condo amenities were open,
Swimming.
Perfect.
Swimming.
Yeah.
I would go swimming. Like, I would try to just go swimming, once a week and just, like, sit in the pool, do some
You should try
laps.
some manifesting with water.
Okay.
If it speaks to you.
Okay.
Well, that's what I wanted to sort of make sure that I mentioned today is that's where it's really led me to.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is to manifesting what I want by using the parts about me that, are these magical aspects, meaning I have this intuition.
Mm-hmm.
I have this sense of knowing. Truth be told, I am a complete loner, like, hermit. I don't. Anyone who's known me for 20 years or more knows that I'll probably call you every 2 years. Like, that's just what it is. My father is upset about it. My mother's upset. Everybody doesn't like it.
Yeah.
But it's that I realized that being alone allowed for me to have these more intimate experiences with the sun, with the moon, with outdoors, with the wind, with the birds. Like, we were just talking before we came on about the fact that crows are a huge messenger for me.
Really?
Yes, and on my way here, yesterday I saw 6 crows on the ground, which I don't normally see them on the ground. On a journey, I was driving someplace. And then today, I saw a crow in the center of the road on the ground, and as I drove up to it, it took off and flew forward in the same direction as me for about 30 seconds on the road that I was driving in. And so, I talked to the universe. So we had our little exchange, and I got my message, and blah, blah, blah. But it's that solitude gave me the opportunity to have these intimate experiences with nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the number one wake up energy. Like, you sit outside in the sun, and even if you're not a spiritual person, you feel better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
100%.
like this quarantine, like people could look at it as a negative thing, but I think we needed a change in the world. I think we were all going down a very evil, negative path where it was like, okay, whether this is a negative, I can be that optimistic person and change it into a positive where everyone needed time to reflect.
Yeah.
Everyone needed time to stop and take that mirror and look inwards and find what is off about me. Not about the world, because we are the world.
Exactly.
So what is off about me? Like, what do I need to find alignment with? It's like, is my mind not right now? Is my heart not right now? Like, what am I feeding other people?
Yeah.
Right? Because it was getting ugly out there in these streets.
It was, and as an empath and somebody who feels everybody else's energy,
it was going real left.
Yeah. I have very physical experiences with other people's emotions. So I was spending, for instance, up until or just before the pandemic, like there's times when I was in my bedroom on my knees bawling into the ground. Not because I was sad.
No, because you could feel it's
everybody
overwhelming.
else's sadness and, frustrations or anxiety.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And it's like we all need to find a way to filter those things that because if you go out every day, you're going to come into contact with people who give you their energy.
Yeah.
Well,
and you take it in, and then you give it to someone else. We are all connected, whether we like to think so or not. When Black Lives Matter, when everything happened with George Floyd, the world cried.
Yeah.
The world.
Yeah.
So it's like we didn't have to be there to feel what was going on. And it made you think, and it made you readjust and be like, yo, I need to change. I need to do something. So like try and filter out everything that you're receiving and filter it and give out positivity. Do whatever you need to do with yourself first, like look inwards like you did, where it's just like, okay, I'm going to hone my sexual energy, like this is what's going to help me. I'm going to filter my thoughts and get more of a positive mind, so I'm going to go dance and I'm going to work out. For Hasina, I want to be one with nature and receive what nature has to give to me. There's no wrong way, and there's no wrong thing, no wrong form of therapy. externally, but you have to be aware and want to change within yourself and want to find that balance within you and figure it out. But the only way you do it is if you're open to it and open to trying new things.
Exactly.
And listening when people say things to you, or even listen how people love you and how people how you receive and take in things.
Yeah,
definitely. I realized too that it's a perspective change. I listened to somebody on YouTube all the time called Abraham Hicks. And Abraham Hicks is, I won't give the background because it's a little bit woo-woo, like I said, I'm outside the box.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but Abraham talks about the fact that everything is a reflection of you. So if what you're receiving in the world isn't up to par, isn't up to your standards, something about it you don't like, then the only way to fix it every time is to turn inward and figure out that part that's either missing or off or whatever the energy is, right? If you keep trying to move things around on the playing board, sure, things will be manipulated, and you might see some changes, but when it comes down to it, you're just going to manifest the same energy in new people or a new situation.
You'll never get
versus
your answer.
actually, getting beyond that energy. So it really is an internal, directed, thought process that's intentional.
Internal discoveries, for sure.
100%. I think it's all about being intentional, and above anything else, I feel like if everybody takes the time to intentionally get to know themselves, feel their heart, and genuinely just be kind to other people, overall, things will just become better for you personally. Everybody in your spectrum, in your orbit, is going to feel better if you are just... If you are that person who's being kind. And you are that positive energy for somebody, it's going to spark them to be like, oh my gosh, you know what? Like, I'm being negative. Let me switch it up because I just had this positive experience with this person. I'm going to pass that on. And that's kind of like how I go through life, is trying to just be positive with everyone, whether it's like listening to someone who just needs to vent, or, telling someone, you look beautiful. Like, I am the random girl who walks on the street like, hey girl, you look great. Like, you look gorgeous, those little things that are really just going to make somebody's day. And it's like nothing out of your, nothing big for you to do, but it would make the biggest difference to someone else. Just being kind and positive.
And the most powerful thing that we actually have is spreading love. That is the most powerful force.
I went to the grocery store yesterday, and I chose a line because of the woman's energy. And so after she checked me through, I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I joined this line because of your energy. And she was like, oh my gosh, really? I said, yeah, whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it because it's working, girl. And she was like, oh,
okay,
God, that's the best compliment. You have no idea.
That's so good.
Like, this is what we're supposed to be doing for one another. I feel good about myself. So when I approach other people, I offer some of my feeling good to them, and then they feel good, and then they have that feeling good to pass on.
Exactly.
Well, honestly, that's all the time we have for today. We can talk about this so much more, which we will on our extended version of our episode on YouTube. So I do have a bunch of questions to ask you that you can answer. We looked to our listeners to ask questions. What would you ask a tarot card reader? And so I have a few for you to answer. So if you guys want to get those answers to your questions, you can see us on YouTube link and look at our extended version of our episode. But honestly, Damri, thank you for joining us today. It was so good. You actually brought me onto a new form of therapy that I might try one day, which is tantric therapy, honing my sexual, power.
So it certainly is a fun time, ladies. It's a very fun time.
Black Beach Barbie, any last thoughts on your first episode?
I'm so excited to be here, and I hope all of you guys hit us up on Instagram, YouTube, listen to this on Spotify, and there will be more to come.
Yes, let us know what your therapy is, okay? But that is all we have today on the Potty Line. I can't wait to see you guys next week. Goodbye.